ninjas use lots of various different kinds of powders, and I think everyone knows that. That's not something that's uncommon, right? One of the more common things that is known is Metsubushi, which are like the eye-blinding powders, right? The base form to make Metsubushi was ashes. And what they would do, you know, obviously they tried to use as much as they could from the earth. So when you put fire, which is, you know, like katan, and then you use wood, mokutan, and you burn it, you get a substance of ash. And that would be the base. So if you guys have ever like thrown ashes in the air, it kind of floats in the air kind of thing. And so that would be its base form. And then from that, they would add other irritants, whether it's, you know, various peppers. Sometimes they would ground up glass, or they would take the iron filings that they would get from when they're sharpening their swords and their blades and throw that in there. You imagine someone throwing a bunch of ashes in your eyes and iron filings and peppers, and it'll mess with you pretty good, you know? So that's kind of its base idea. Metsubushi became very popular in the Edo period with Edo period police. So not that it didn't exist previous to the Edo period, right? It did, and definitely they used powders in people's eyes for an evasion tactic. It was just became more prevalent in the Edo period than previous, okay? Now, generally, when they carried Metsubushi, they would have carried it in a small bamboo chute, because then you can deliver the Metsubushi from a small piece of bamboo, hollowed out bamboo, and you could put it right on point into someone's eyes, right? So let's say I'm in front of a swordsman and someone's here, and I can pull out this little piece of bamboo, and then right when I see the swordsman rise to Jodan no Kama, and they raise up, I see the opening, and that's when I can throw the powder in their eyes, and then I can like get out of dodge while they're trying to dig the shit out of their eyes, right? If you're going in as Enin, right? A dark ninjutsu, and you're gonna keep a small bamboo chute full of Metsubushi or caltrops, right? Nakibishi type of thing. For evasion, if someone's running, you could throw the caltrops to kind of pierce their feet. If they get close to you, you could use the Metsubushi so you can run away. Remember, ninja were spies, so the fighting was not number one. Although they're good at it, their job was to get the information and get it back to their lord, right? So they had to have various tanjutsu or evasion techniques to get back. But if you were a yonin, right, and you're in disguise, and you're walking around the crowd, you can't carry a bamboo chute full of Metsubushi or things like that. People know, what the hell are you carrying that for, right? It would look suspicious, so you would have to carry things that didn't look suspicious. And what they would do as farmers or merchants or whatever, they would hollow out eggs. And as they hollowed out the egg, those eggs would be, you could crack them really easy and throw the powders in people's face so that you could evade in case you were captured or someone has picked you out as a spy or something along those lines, right? It's very easy to take bamboo and pack it full of powders and throw it in and run and practice tanjutsu. It's a little bit more difficult to know how to hollow out an egg and do the egg process, right? So that is what we're going to do now. You guys are going to have to hollow out your egg and make your Metsubushi and things like that. Also, we will be using powder that is safe to throw at each other's eyes, literally baby safe. We are not packing it full of ashes, and then you guys get ashes and shit in your eyes, and we're not going that route. Okay, so we're doing the process just as safe as possible for a training exercise. Okay, so let's talk about the egg. The shell is so thin, that's why it's perfect. If you're a farmer or a merchant, you're walking around with a bunch of eggs, it's not suspicious in any way, but you have a way in case they catch your ass, crack it and throw it in their eyes, right? And again, various different irritants, different traditions, different Ryuha has a different concoction. But for the most part, regardless of what Ryuha across the board, ash is the base form. And then from that, different Ryuha have different things added. Various peppers, glass, iron filings, like I said, etc. What you're gonna do, you're gonna take the top of the egg, the peak, not the butt, the bottom belly, but the top of it. You're gonna take something really sharp, like a pick, or like a bow shuriken or something like that. And what you're going to do, so we're just going to keep popping like this. Now, if you guys can see, I'm hitting it like a bird would peck. I'm not, and actually if you guys get down here, get over here, I need you to see this. See that little spot that I did? See, I'm barely popping it, I'm just barely tipping. If you guys go at it, you're going to break the whole damn thing. So this, the top of the egg, you do not want too much of a hole at all. You want that. See how that's just that little bitty spot? And you want to get down enough to where you can see some of the juices come out, right? And that's it. You just don't want it any more than just like that. The bottom though, a little bit different story. So we're gonna flip it around. You do the bottom second. Now, because there's a little hole here, it's gonna be a little different, so be very careful. Don't. So you start just like that. And sooner or later, you're gonna get a little, see how it's getting soft? And then you start popping again. Now see how I'm going around that edge to make the bottom hole a little bit bigger? It's like, it's already as big as this, but I'm gonna go a little bit more. I'm gonna keep going around that edge, and I kinda want it to be about twice the size, roughly, twice the size as the hole up top. See how that's not quite twice the size, but it's getting close? There you go, see that? All right, the next thing we're gonna do, Mr. Buyer, hold that for me, thank you so much. All right, back out, Jocko, and now I'm gonna push all that shit out of there. So you just take the top of the egg. That's why you wanna do it like that. All right, we've hollowed out the egg. The next thing we gotta do is make sure we put a secure bottom to it. Now, traditionally, what they would have done, thank you, Mr. Capri. Traditionally, what they would have done is they would have used rice paper and Japanese rice. They would have taken the Japanese rice, you know, get it saturated in the water and then mash it up and then applied it to rice paper, and it would have been like 15th century tape. Okay, so because rice is sticky when you get it really wet, you know, kind of wet, halfway dried out, just kind of rub it on some rice paper, and then they would have stuck that on the bottom like this, right? And then from there, once they stuck that on there like that, and obviously I got a massive piece here, but that's okay, and like that, so you guys can see how the rice paper would have covered that up, right? Just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fill that. You know what I mean? I know, right? Now they make pepper spray, so you don't have to go through all this problem. You know, come in nice little packs, already ready for you. You don't have to do this shit.
Multicolored.
Is that video recording? Mm-hmm. So for the camera, I just want to say, buying a can of pepper spray is much more efficient than cracking up a bunch of eggs. However, if you guys are wanting to practice 15th century martial arts and you want to learn what they did, you spend the time cracking the damn eggs.
Classical versus Henka.
Right, yeah, modern variation technique is the pepper spray and mace and all that good stuff, right? Which those things, you talk about irritants, those will really jack you up, you know what I mean? And sometimes when you put the tape on it, guys, sometimes the egg is still wet. You know what I mean? So if you guys don't put, I will say this, if you don't put enough powder on the inside of these things, because you guys are blowing out the egg now, the inside still has kind of like a little membrane in there, so it's fairly wet. So when you shake it like this, it's gonna have about half as much powder in it as you think it has. So if you fill it halfway, right, and then you go like this, the inside of the egg is now covered with the powder. So if you filled it halfway, you probably got this much powder coming out. So you kind of want to make sure that you get 3/4 or more in there, okay? Now, the way that you would distribute the egg, imagine you have this egg, right? And so I'm here, someone catches, and one way of doing it that is pretty common is you just take the egg and you just throw it in their face, and by the time it hits them, it's gonna go and explode, right? So that's the easiest way to do it. If you know you're gonna pop them right in the face and you just throw it at them, it's gonna break, it's gonna hit their head, break, and that's one way of dispersing from using this. The second way is what you're gonna do from here. Someone pulls a sword, and let's say I jump back into some sort of like, you know, kamae, right? So I'm coming back and I'm in this position, like, you know, kaze kamae, and I take the egg and then I crack it in my hand, just like this. And now once I've done this, they come close, and that's when I distribute the powder, and it goes right into their face that way.